Dude, we did it. We made it. Oh my gosh.
Whew. You gotta love internet problems.
Dude, and I was like, you know what? We got this down pat. We literally have done this almost a month now. And then,
Yeah.
well, it feels like a month. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to send Devin the link or Tubby the link. And then I'm just going to go ahead and live. Like, he's going to jump on. I'll go ahead and monologue for like 30 seconds. And then I was like, oh my, and all of a sudden I looked down, it was 7 minutes. And I was like, I got nothing else to say. I'm going to pop off. I don't think anyone saw it yet. So it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I jumped on and then, it just, I don't know, something going on with the internet the last couple of weeks. But hey,
Crystal
we're
clear
good now.
You're good.
Hey, we're good now.
Yeah. Amazing. You ever try to mute yourself on the cough and then you mute yourself when you talk? And then I unmuted literally right when I talk. Ugh, this is great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, apologies, everybody. You think you have everything down pat, and then you're only as good as your curtain equipment setup was in that moment. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. So that right there was part of the game. So we are running a little late, and I apologize, but I want to say thanks for joining us. If you're joining us maybe right in the moment live as it's happening, know this. Tubby and I are recording. We record every Monday night about 6:30. Right at 6:30 is what we're going to try to work on with technology. But at 6:30, that way you can join us live and jump in the chat, ask questions. Last week was a ton of fun with all the questions. But also this week is a little bit unique because Devin, or I keep saying your name, Tubby. I'm still not used to it. We have the championship game is on Monday night. And we usually release our podcast when?
On Tuesday.
So it doesn't make sense to put predictions and stuff. We'll do that on the front end. And then all the podcast is pretty much going to be in NFL for the most part. Just, playoff predictions. Because guess what? It's playoff season. Let's go.
It's playoff season.
Well, not for you.
No, definitely not for me. That was rough.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't believe it. I'm shocked, but
dude, I woke up yesterday morning and I just had a feeling they were going to lose.
What? You had a feeling?
Yeah, just had a feeling they were going to lose.
That sucks. So, when the World Cup was on, did you watch any of it in November?
Oh yeah, I watched pretty much all of it.
Did you hear that song that they made for it?
Guess not.
Dude, I'll have to send it to you. It's so bad. It goes World Cup, It's so bad. It's so dumb, and it was all over the place. I'm going to the gym the other day, and I'm using a streetcar here, and I was waiting, and these kids were singing it and playing it on their phones. I was like, this. I woke up with that song in my head this morning. I don't know why. Garbage.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear that one. I mean, I watched almost every single game. I don't know how I missed it.
Well, yeah, it was. I don't know. I think it was big on social media, I guess. And neither of us are real big on social media. Huge. I mean, we do the W podcast pages. That's the most part.
Yeah, and say, I mean, my personal Facebook is basically became just me posting stuff about the podcast.
Right.
Twitter, basically the same thing, and keeping up on college sports. Recruiting is that's the big places. Twitter, and then Instagram, basically same thing. Keep up to date with the podcast, and that's about it.
Yeah, which that's fine. I think that's a good limit. We use it for the tool that it can be. We don't make it our life, which I like.
Yeah, I'd say I mean, really, it is. I there for a while I felt like I was on it too much, so I was like, I'll just kind of take a step back, and basically all I do now is podcast stuff. Work. Well,
I like it. I appreciate all the hard work you do for the podcast stuff, man. Because when I was trying, it wasn't getting done. I'm not any good at that.
I figured, I was like, man, I have to contribute somehow because you do all the editing and all that stuff, and I was like, well, maybe I can at least take over the social media side and maybe try to build up some stuff that way.
What a team! And it's working, man. We're having a lot of fun. New listeners all the time, new subscribers, and so we appreciate it. If you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel or the podcast on Apple Podcasts or I guess Spotify. I don't know where else anybody would listen to a podcast, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can listen to it on Amazon Music also.
Okay, yeah. So do it. Do that. I didn't know it was a thing, but do that.
And on top of that, I mean, we got to thank you guys. I mean, this is the most views that we had on one of our live videos this last week. So, I mean, we thank you for that. I mean, we're slowly building up, and it's all because of you guys.
It really is. So keep sharing it, and we appreciate it. And I'm serious. Like the most fun I have is whenever you just jump in the chat and put your predictions or your favorite restaurants. I mean, Taco John's. I didn't even get to have it this week, but I thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think last week it was a lot of fun. We had people in here talking, telling us, their stuff, what they thought about, football or this and that, or I mean, favorite restaurants or whatever. I mean, it's a lot of fun. So I mean, yeah, keep on coming. We appreciate it a lot. Like I said, it wasn't for you guys, I mean, we wouldn't be growing the way we are right now. So yeah, all the love to you guys.
Absolutely. So speaking of some listeners, I did talk to some there that, they're some of my friends, and they're in a fantasy football league. The one that we did the review for, one of the ones that we did the review for. So the championship game was going to be decided Monday Night Football in Week 17, Bengals Bills. Obviously didn't happen. And so at that point, I'm like, well, what in the world are you supposed to do? There's no perfect answer. I don't think there wasn't, because the game doesn't get played. They had to pause it. They end up canceling the game. So you're not like, oh, I can do that, which again makes sense to cancel the game based off timelines. Anyway, so what I ended up saying as the commish, I said, hey, I messaged the two guys in the championship game. I said, it was 99 to like 77.64 or something like that. And I said, hey, Jamar Chase is the only one that's left. The official champion will be named after Week 18 stats. And that's what we'll use for Jamar Chase. I said, you guys, because there's money on the line, I said, you guys can decide if you want to pool it. Hey, you split the total winnings for first and second and just half it. Who cares? Or if you said, no, we're going to go all out and we'll get it done. I said, that's fine too. So they ended up splitting it, which I've heard that works. That's fine. So I texted all the guys yesterday, and there's actually a girl in the league too. So I texted the league yesterday, and it was the 4th year we had it. And the final ended up being the guy who had Jamar Chase. The final was 99 to 99.45.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, for a championship game, that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to make that kind of decision. At least in our league, it was pretty much out of hand. I mean, Joseph was up by like 60 points.
Yeah.
Josh Allen and that defense wasn't scoring 60 points.
No.
And he had T. Higgins too. Joseph had T. Higgins. So
so it's like that. At the very least, that cancels out the defense side of it. And T. Higgins, I think, had a touchdown, if I remember correctly. Didn't he have the touchdown?
No, that was Boyd.
Oh, Boyd did. Okay, so that's what's nuts about it. So there's obviously no perfect solution. So then I'm in my home league that I've been in for 10 plus years now. Never won it. Never done better than third, and that was one time. Almost every year, I'm in 5th to 7th, somewhere in that stupid range. Jamar Chase. Yeah. So our commish, which I want to say real quick, my commissioner for that league, his name's Tyler. The dude is probably like the commission. No offense to you or to me, he's just commissioner of the year. Every year, it's like a different kind of trophy. There's a buy-in for it, but he puts so much effort. He puts graphics together with teams for championship, for playoffs, for the toilet bowl, all this stuff. Dude, it's so much fun. And he makes the league. He's always adjusting the league for whatever the needs are. Because COVID was a wild year, he adjusted the league. He made it fun. It was a great year for that. Anyway, he's playing against me. I have Jamar Chase. I need 6 points. Everybody on my bench, I think I texted you this, maybe in Joseph, where I said, everybody on my bench scored more than 6. So if I don't win this championship game, I'm going to be furious. And then that game obviously happened. So I was like, man, I don't know what's going to happen, because they're not going to play it. So what's he going to do? And obviously he did the same move. I just copied and pasted the move that he did. Like, hey, we'll use week 18 stats and we'll be good. And hats off to him. He did that. It was a good move because he was in the championship game against me. Yeah. So he could have been one of those commissions, and he doesn't do that.
Yeah, just been like, oh, well, I won. Sorry about you. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, what I think he should do is he should have a course, an online course for commissioner training. If you're thinking about starting a league, join my course online for just one payment of $10 or whatever. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. This is step-by-step how you become one of the top commissioners in fantasy.
And dude, he is. He's a great commish. So just saying, a little shout out. He also is a subscriber to the show, so he's probably not watching right now. But if he was, because he's probably watching the game, if he was, there you go.
Yeah. Hey, great shout out. I'm pretty.
I thought about it. We could also always consider doing like satellite leagues, that kind of thing for the football leagues, like have a couple ones that people are ever interested. And like, hey, I want to do a fantasy league with you guys, or you could just have a couple like, either simple ESPN ones or PPR. Just keep it simple, but like they can compete against us. Oh.
Yeah. Hey, maybe next year.
Maybe I need a fourth league.
I need a fourth league. Yeah. So the crazy thing is about fantasy, we did the whole fantasy podcast, and I did the no running back strategy, and I was like, man, this team's awful, terrible. Only team I made in the championship.
Did you win?
And I lost.
Oh, see, there it is.
But the fact that I even made it, I was shocked, because when I first saw the team, I was like, there's no way this team can compete. And so I'm not totally against that strategy now, but I'm not for it because I still think it's dumb. But you have to make sure you hit on those guys, because if I wouldn't have hit on Josh Jacobs or Damian Pierce, I would have lost.
Hitting on both of those, man.
Yeah, I mean, and then Pierce, he was out for the last 4 weeks, so that hurt. I had David Montgomery, but he just wasn't able to. Yeah, I ended up losing my quarterback too. I had Kyler Murray, lost him towards the end of the season too. So I kind of had like a ragtag bunch of guys. Debo, he was out for like 4 weeks.
Dude, I know. I have him in a dynasty league. I'm furious.
Yeah.
Because my dynasty league that I'm in, I'm upset about it right now because I paid $25 a year to take over a team that I know I'm going to be bad. I'm not going to compete for a championship at least until year 4. At $75 in, and I'm not going to win any of it.
This is the one where you had no quarterback, right?
Yeah. Yes. That one. I started Malik Willis 1 week this year in a game he thankfully started, got me a point.
Gotcha a point. Oh, man. Yeah. That situation.
Yeah. So the game is about to start. So let's go ahead and jump into some quick predictions for the game. So, look, there we go. C. Clark's fan. Okay, let's go. He's in the chat. What's up, man? Welcome to the show. Thank you for jumping in. We're going to do some quick predictions. So in the chat, go ahead, put in your predictions for tonight's game. It has not officially kicked off yet. But you got Georgia, first time to repeat since 2011, 2012, I think. 2012 or 2010?
12.
2012. So we got
12,
Georgia.
12 and 13, wasn't Alabama?
Yeah, it was Alabama back then. I just think it hasn't happened since we've gotten out of high school. So I don't know. You picked TCU to beat Michigan. So I'm going to let you, because you got both games right, I believe. You picked Georgia, correct, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do you want the first pick of the prediction, or do you want me to go first?
I'll take first pick.
Okay, who you got?
So I originally had Georgia. I had Georgia winning. But then I got that gut feeling again. There's just something. I feel like Max Duggan and that team are playing at it's one of those situations that you see in sports year in and year out. The team they just have a way of winning. I just feel like TCU is going to upset them tonight. I loved Max Duggan. I love the heart he gives. And if they can come out and start out the game like they did against Michigan, dominating the offensive line and, being really good on defensive line like they were, I'm going to take TCU.
Okay. Wow. I thought there was a chance that you would go for it. I really did. I mean, they have the nation's best QB, according to the awards this year, for whatever that means. But I will say, I'm going to go with Georgia. I just think they're just too good. And as much as I don't necessarily enjoy watching Stetson Bennett, somehow he's just going to – he seems to get the job done. And if you look at if the Georgia defense, what they have to do against this TCU team is just force field goals when you get into the red zone. If they can do that enough, now TCU has a really good kicker, so they're probably going to make those. Yeah. But the difference between 3 points and 7 points, that's why Ohio State lost. It's not only, obviously, the missed kick that was brutal, but the other thing that they struggled with was in the red zone, 5 trips, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. But I feel like that Ohio State kind of showed a weakness for Georgia. And I'm sure Georgia probably worked on that a lot. But I don't know, there's just something about Duggan. I would ride with that guy anytime, because he goes out there and he just gives it his all, 100%, leaves it all out on the field no matter what. And that's the kind of guy I want leading my team. And I think the other team, the other players on the team, they feed off that. They're like, man, this guy, he's going to give his all. I'm going to give my all. and that's what you need in a leader. And I don't know. There's I woke up with, my head says Georgia, but my gut said TCU. So I'm going gut. My gut typically doesn't, steer me wrong. I mean, I am wrong a lot, but most of the time my gut, I have these feelings. I'm just like, I'm going to ride with it. And like yesterday, I woke up, gut feeling, Packers are going to lose. I just had this gut feeling that they weren't going to win. And so I had the same feeling this morning. Why not ride with it and see what happens?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that game here in a little bit, but I love that. I mean, do you have anybody who you'd expect to be like the X factor of the game other than Max Duggan or Stetson Bennett, like someone who's outside that normal scope?
Outside of, I think they're going to have to rely a lot on the running back. I know Kendre Miller is they said he's about 50%. So it's going to come down to, I think his name's DeMarco or something.
Yeah, I saw him a little bit in the other game.
DeMarco, I think is his name.
Okay.
And I think it's going to come down to him if he is able to run the ball well enough, because that's a big thing for TCU's. They run the ball, and Kendre Miller being hurt, that's the big blow. And how healthy is he? I mean, can he gut it out for one more game and, push himself, be the difference? But, DeMarco has played pretty good, in relief of Miller over the last couple of years. So I think there's a chance that he can step up and, be that spark that they need on the run game besides Max Duggan trying to run the ball.
Yeah, so that's the key to me it's Max Duggan is him running that two dimensions that he has. So for me, the X factor is going to be the secondary, whoever is going to be responsible. If they're going to do a spy, if they're going to do QB contain, whatever the plan is. So I'm going to go linebackers just because I don't have exact positioning, but that's what it is. You got to contain him. I think if they can make it one dimensional, then they can do it. I don't know that Quentin Johnson is going to have what it takes to have the big game, but man, if he has that big game, it might be just enough. So if I had to go one on each side, that's what it is. But I want to see him step up. I want to see him play big against the SEC, against this just incredible defense that's gotten shredded the last 2 weeks that they played. I want to see that. I want to see TCU say, hey, let's go Big 12. Because the good news for the Big 12, TCU represented this year. They went out and they beat the Big 10, who a lot of people think is a better conference. It's not in football. You got Ohio State and you got Penn State, who's usually pretty consistent. But what difference is Penn State in Texas?
Not a whole lot, really.
I was just asking. And then you have obviously Ohio State, and you had, like I was going to mention, Ohio State and Michigan. That's OU, and you can pick TCU this year. OU typically, right? You have two really good teams, top heavy, but top to bottom, the Rutgers.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And like you sent me that rankings, and even the rankings, it was like the SP plus rankings, but it kind of takes everything in consideration: strength, schedule, offensive efficiency, defense efficiency, everything into consideration. And the Big 12 is ranked second.
I know,
behind the SEC.
Top to bottom. And
so I think that right there, maybe not all of it proves that, but I think that right there is a big, thing showing, okay, the Big 12 was better than a lot of people gave credit. And I think a lot better than everyone gave credit at the beginning of the year. I thought this was going to be a down year for the Big 12. I didn't. I thought maybe Oklahoma would have a, solid year. I thought, I let my Oklahoma bias get the best of me at the beginning of the year. But I at least thought they would have, 10 wins, have a really, solid season. I thought Texas would be okay. I thought Baylor would be a lot better. But we saw teams like a Kansas State and TCU show up that we weren't expecting. Even, Kansas getting 6 wins this year. No one expected Kansas to get 6 wins.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then in that bowl game to be completely written off and then to come all the way back to make it a triple overtime game was, great scene to see. But I think you're right. Top to bottom, obviously Baylor, wow. Baylor and Oklahoma were two of the biggest disappointing teams of this year. But even if you look at every conference is going to have similar things to that. I just think, for the longest time, everyone was plus minus. And I think K-State would have been even better had they not had Adrian Martinez so much in the beginning of the year. They hadn't quite figured that out. And understandably so. Like they tried the QB out before and it just hadn't worked, but it's clicked. Same thing with Max Duggan. It clicked. So there you go. So,
and I think another big key for this game is for Georgia is Keely Ringo. He's this highly touted corner going into the draft, going into this year, but he has an issue with flags, pass interference. He plays super physical, and we saw that in the Ohio State game. Got flagged for a couple pass interference. Marvin Harrison Jr. just, destroyed him the whole game. I don't know if Quentin Johnston can do that, to that effect, but Quentin Johnston is a much bigger wide receiver and a much more physical wide receiver. So Keely Ringo is going to have to use that physical side, but can he tote that line between pass interference and good defense? He hasn't been able to show that the last few weeks, or really a lot this year. He's been flagged quite a bit. So if he can, tote that line well enough and slow Quentin Johnston down enough, I think it'll be hard for TCU. But I'm still riding TCU. I'm Max Duggan. I'm riding the Duggan train.
Matt, okay. I appreciate you going with it. I appreciate you sticking your neck on the line. I like it. So, now, so quick question: are you recording the game? If I give you an update here and there, is that going to be good?
I got it on in the corner.
Oh, so you're doing the quick?
Yeah.
We need to get you like a little mini TV or something.
See, the thing was that when we first started this, and I think it's just been recently over the last couple months that I realized I didn't have to have when we actually record on the computer, I didn't have to have that up all the time. I could have something over it, and I was afraid that it wouldn't record.
Oh,
and so I just had that up the whole time, and so I'm sure I could put it up on the computer or something and watch it that way. But it's fine too. My TV, it's literally just off to the side.
Yeah, as long as you're good with it, I guess it's fine. So mine's off to the side over here. So if you see me looking over, it's just Kendra Miller didn't play. In case you're wondering.
Nope, didn't suit up.
Didn't play. Yeah, I think that's probably for the best for him, just to be safe. But
yeah, when you say you're 50%, you probably shouldn't give it a go. Did you see that he's coming back for next year?
Dude, I think he just loves Michigan football. I think that's what it is.
I was very surprised because don't want to a little spoiler alert, for the next couple months, but to me, he was probably the top 3 running back going into the draft, and more than likely it would be like a high 2nd round pick. And I was very surprised because running backs tread on the tires is a big deal going into the league. The average life of a running back in the NFL is 4 years. So you're taking a year. You're possibly taking that year away from your NFL career. You're good enough. You had an argument if you would have stayed healthy to be in New York. And I was very surprised. There's quite a few guys so far that have stayed that I've been shocked about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think for him, I think it's one of those things that he's projecting maybe 20 years down the road. He's not playing in NFL or college, obviously, at that time. But which one is he going to tell other people about? Which one is he going to be excited about? And I think it's going to be Michigan football. I have no idea. We have no idea what his career is going to look like in the NFL. We hope it's a successful one. But for him, I think he just lives and breathes and loves Michigan football. So we'll see. We're about to jump in. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I look like I cut you off.
I think I think that may indicate one other thing too, and it's just one quick thing is that there has been rumors about Jim Harbaugh possibly going to the NFL again. Does he come back if Jim Harbaugh is not coming back? That's one thing that could be a deciding factor, and maybe a telltale that maybe Jim Harbaugh is going to stay at Michigan.
Yeah, I don't see why you would go to Carolina. There's zero reason why I would choose that. He's going to have his pick. But you don't. Yeah. You can't have him go to Arizona, which we'll get into here in a second. But you can't. That team is not built for Jim Harbaugh offense at all.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I read something today saying that he pulled his name out of the running for the Carolina job.
Good. You don't want that one.
And I think the only other team that I seen connected with was Denver. And I
still don't want that one. But I could see that one working out more because at least the way Russell Wilson plays, it makes me think of Alex Smith back in the day, right?
Yeah, he's used more used to a West Coast offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well,
Brad, what is up, buddy?
I thought I have this whole ability now to put these. I'm figuring more and more out about this whole live stream thing. It's great. So
Yeah, I see it up in the little corner.
there you go. But dude, so I'm excited. There is a game I have planned. I texted you about it. I didn't tell you anything about it, but it's going to be a challenge. I hope you're excited.
I like challenges.
Yeah. So are you ready? We'll just jump into NFL stuff and we'll hit it.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome back, everyone, to an exciting episode of the W Podcast. If you didn't know, we are also live on YouTube as we record this right now. And I tell you this because we just had 25 minutes of non-podcast content. All of that college football that happened yesterday, we talked about it. We talked about Jim Harbaugh. We talked about all this other stuff that if you missed out on, you still have a chance to go to our YouTube page. Man, my brain just went out on me there. But you can go to our YouTube page. You can watch the episode. You can actually join us every single Monday night at 6:30. We go live. We record the podcast there. There's always extra content. Feel free to jump in the chat. We love that. You can throw in your questions. Even fantasy football, baseball questions, stuff like that. Feel free to do that because that is what this show is all about. And I promise you, even if you don't believe me, if you don't believe my voice, my opinion on sports, you should believe Tubby because this dude knows his sports.
I mean, you know your sports too. It's not just a one person deal here. James, honestly, he's growing up. We always talked in high school and stuff about sports and all that. He was one of the few people that I've ever met that could go toe to toe with me, and discussing and debating and stuff. So don't let him sell himself short. He knows his stuff.
So you used to test me. You used to test me a lot.
Oh, a lot.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember that. Good times.
Dan, Dragon. It's from the cards.
I figured that's the case. That's great.
We have our usernames, and his is Dragon.
Okay. I like it. See, there you go. All right. Well, hey, let's go. We're going to go ahead and jump into the podcast real quick. And we're going to start. This is going to be an NFL-centered focus mindset around the podcast. And here's why. Because the college football game happened yesterday. It happened. All right. Things happened. Yeah. Scores were had. People won. People lost. And we're celebrating or we're sad at the same time. Who knows? I don't know. Do you know?
I'm definitely sad.
You're sad?
I mean, yeah. I don't get to wake up and there'll be football on Saturday.
That's a good point. Actually, there is this week. It's NFL playoffs are on Saturday.
Well, but I should say at least, yeah, there's not college football. I mean, I've said it time and time again. College football is my favorite. And not to have that on Saturdays every single morning, it makes me sad.
Yeah, it is. We did get it like an extra week, though, kind of. It feels like because of the playoff. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But today, NFL Center Focus, let's jump in. So the playoffs are set. Essentially, there is a coin flip. There is a coin flip to determine a neutral site for a possible AFC Championship game, which I realize is getting ahead of itself, but it's a planning thing just in case it happens. Yeah. We can't do it last second. By the way, Georgia just had Stetson Bennett touchdown. There you go.
That was quick.
Yep. Yeah. Everybody knows Stetson Bennett in the legs. He's scrambling.
Uh-oh.
All right. Yeah. So again, it's happening right now as we're recording. So in the coin flip, I get it's not a perfect scenario. I understand that. I know that the Chiefs got the number 1 seed and the bye, which is great. But while at the same time, they lost to the Bengals and they lost to the Bills. And I heard one of the arguments that kind of got under my skin a little bit and made me frustrated. And I'm not mad at the system. I understand the outcome. For the record, I get it. It's an imperfect situation due to a really bad situation, right, with the Bills. Yeah. That's okay. I just think that the argument that the Chiefs, they won one more game than anybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their win percentage is better. And they're like, well, yeah, but they got that one game. Yeah, they still had to win it. You know how hard it is to win a game in the NFL? Ask a Packers team.
Yeah, right? I mean, way to rub the salt in the wound. Thanks.
Sorry. I'm just
playing.
Just saying,
Yeah, no, I get that. I do. But, I mean, we can't play what if, because the Bills may not have won that game. The Bengals are arguably the hottest team in football. So it would have been a really tough game for them to win, especially in Cincinnati. So we can't say that, because even if they do lose that game and the Chiefs win, and the Bengals, it still would have ended up the same way. So I mean, we can't play what if this happened or what if that happened. Like you said, it's a tough situation. You can't. There's no perfect answer for it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think they came up with the most, I think, reasonable situation, I would say, because there was. Did you see the rumored thing that they were talking like, okay, week 19, the Bengals and Bills will play?
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm like, why? I mean, I get just call it. I mean, there's no reason to replay that game. I mean, what were you going to start from 7-3 at this exact time on the clock and stuff like that? How were you wanting to play that game? It's not baseball. You can't just pick up in the middle of an inning. So yeah, I think I get teams may be upset. Whatever. That's
all. The Bengals are furious. Like every day, it's like Bengals are still furious.
See, theirs was a little different though, because theirs was more basis on the fact that if they would have lost to the Ravens, then it would have been a coin flip to see who won the division, basically. And so that I could kind of be a little more understanding about. A coin flip to see who wins the division, because
home field advantage. It's like a huge deal, which is what this whole thing is about, is home field advantage, which in the playoff, typically 3 points. You can add 3 points to the score in favor of the home team, because that's usually what it's valued at. So I get it's imperfect, and they did the best they could, and I'm fine with that. Let's not be jerks about this whole thing. It's okay. It's just football. It is a business, but more importantly, let's have fun, enjoy watching it. It'll take a little bit away if it is like Bills Chiefs or Bengals Chiefs or any of these teams, and it's not going to be in Indianapolis. We know that because they already have stuff scheduled, but it ends up being Las Vegas or something. Like it just takes a little bit away for me.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. And like you said, but what other solution did people want? Did they want the Chiefs to concede? Would that have been fair to them for winning? No.
Yeah, again, because they went out and they won that game, the extra game, essentially.
Yeah, they had to win that game, and if they didn't, it would have been a different story. So, yeah, like you said, you have to win that game. There wasn't a guarantee the Bills were going to win that game against the Bengals. So you can't play the what if. Oh, well, what if they did win? Well, then if they did win, that would have been a different story. The Bills would have had home field advantage. Nothing would have been of it. But you can't play that situation because it didn't happen.
Problem solved.
Yeah. I mean,
now
it's nothing you can do about it now. It's set in stone. It's what it is.
Yeah. Well, so it's set in stone. So we'll go through some predictions here at the end of just our predictions for the game for this upcoming weekend. And isn't there a Monday night game?
There is.
I just think that's weird. I can't handle that. It's just weird.
Yeah, no, I think it's a little much. Wait, you got I think it's Cowboys Bucks Monday night.
Yeah, I cannot wait till we get to that one. That's the one I want to predict the most right now.
Yeah.
But so this weekend we had the other Saturday game. So the Chiefs did beat the Raiders. Raiders had Jarrett Stidham. Here's the thing I get with announcers, and for the record, I'm not a big Dan Orlovsky fan as a commentator overall. I just really don't enjoy him. It sounded like everything that Jarrett Stidham did, it was like Dan Orlovsky was like, oh yeah, that's really good communication, pointing out, the line. Dude, he should be. That's the bare minimum. He better be pointing out this stuff about communicating with his line, which is good that he's doing it. I just don't. Jarrett Stidham is not the answer in Oakland or in Las Vegas. But
no.
The other game was the Jags versus the Titans. Winner take all, gets the division, gets in the playoffs, and gets home field advantage for the first game. And thank goodness for everybody, it's not the Titans. Lord, and that was closer. It looked pretty scary there for a little while.
Yeah, no one wanted to see Josh Dobbs lose in the first round of the playoff game.
A team that had lost what is like 7 games in a row in the year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's great for football that Trevor Lawrence made it. I think football needed it. Yes. Yeah, we got the Joe Burrows, we got the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes. You could probably throw Herbert in there depending, who you are. Other than that, good young quarterbacks, there's not a whole lot of them. And I think football needs more of that. And I think the way Trevor Lawrence played this year and played down, the stretch, he didn't play great the last few games, but they played well enough that they got him there, got the wins. And I think that spoke a lot more for how the team has evolved from last year. I mean, you win 3 games, you're like bottom barrel, first pick in the draft, Urban Meyer head coach, to now with Doug. Yeah, with
You're
Doug
digging up some really
Peterson.
painful memories for any Jaguar fans out there.
Oh, I imagine they're probably, once they saw that, jump for joy, Urban got fired. But Doug Peterson, I think, deserves a lot when it comes to the coach of the year. I mean, every stat for Trevor Lawrence is up considerably, and down turnovers too. Yeah. So he really turned him around in a crucial year. Year 2 is a big year for these young quarterbacks, and he finally looked like that number 1 pick compared to I think the only other year 2 quarterback you could throw in that conversation is Justin Fields. But then you look at Mac Jones and you look at Zach Wilson. We didn't get to see Trey Lance, but those 2 took such a step back. I mean, Zach Wilson, we don't even know where he's going to be. Is he going to be the Jets? Will we ever see him play again in a Jets uniform? Mac Jones, I'm not going to put a lot of that on him. I think a lot of that has to be on Belichick and the front office and Matt Patricia being the offense coordinator. We can get in more of that in the offseason. But I think it's great for football.
Belichick is.
Yeah. I mean, he better find him an offense coordinator. Or Mac Jones is just going to be the same guy.
Yeah. And maybe Mac Jones is this guy. Maybe we've seen the best Mac Jones can be.
But I'm not ready to give up on a guy that had 33 touchdowns his rookie year.
That's fine. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, but maybe that was the best.
Yeah, and it very well could be. But the fact that you threw your second-year quarterback, your franchise quarterback, basically to the wolves with a guy that's never called plays in any level of football ever, gave him the reins to your offense, and it was a dogfight between him and another guy that's never called plays in the NFL ever. And you're going to let him call the plays and do all this stuff with your franchise quarterback? It was reckless, and it was terrible idea on Belichick's part. And I get that he keeps his circle tight, and it's probably what has kept him where he has been over the last few years. But you got to figure something out. And my opinion is go get Bill O'Brien. He may not be the most flashy name. I know everyone's going to have the stigma of what happened, with the Texans and all, but the guy knows Belichick. He knows Mac Jones, and he knows how to call plays. That wasn't the issue with the Texans. He knows how to call plays. So go get that guy. I've heard Cliff Kingsbury be thrown around. Don't do that.
Dude.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Please. This dude, you know what? Hey, here's the thing. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury can be an OC. Maybe that's his cap. Like, do you remember Lovie Smith? He's a DC, I think, at bet. Like, that's just the ceiling. He did get fired, which because I truly think it's because he won the game. Like he's going to get fired, but it's because he won the game.
I have two ideas that what happened. I heard a report where he met with the front office and the owner the day before, Saturday. And so either one, they told him to lose the game, or two, they told him you're not going to be the head coach next year. And he went back to the locker room and said, hey, draft position aside, we're winning this game.
Let's go.
And he put it all full display when he went for 2 points at the end of that game.
Love it. And that, you know what? Stop trying to tank. With the different, and here's the thing. That we know for a fact now that the Bears got the number 1 pick. That's just, and they're not going to pick number 1. We know that. They're going to trade away anyway. And so you are going to either have Stroud or you're going to have Bryce Young. And be okay with, now let's build around that, from that, if you're a Texans fan. The whole idea that lose the game, I hate that. That's bad culture. It just tells you that, it doesn't really matter if we win because we're all playing for the future. That means guys like Brandon Cooks are on your team who I don't want to be part of a rebuild. You know what? Have some better character in this. Look at what the Detroit Lions are doing. And a team like that, or the Jaguars, look at how bad this team was a year ago and how if you get the right mindset in there, how it can quickly flip.
And it really starts with the head coach.
Oh, yes.
Whoever you bring in has to be that right guy, has to be that culture guy. We saw what Dan Campbell has done in Detroit, what he's done with Jared Goff. He's turned Jared Goff back into an NFL quarterback, someone that was, left out in the cold. Oh, he's terrible. They just took him as a salary dump, to make this Stafford trade happen. And he was the second best quarterback in that division with Aaron Rodgers in that division.
Look at that.
It says, and got you to a 9-win season, beating the Packers, last night when you had nothing to play for. But they came out and they played, and they're like, hey, we're going to play spoilers. I loved it. I mean, I hate it as a Packers fan, but I love it as a football fan that they didn't just, lay down and die. They go, hey, we have pride to play for. And that to me speaks a lot to what you have as a head coach and, culture that you're building there, because not everyone's going to want to do that. Everyone's going to go, man, we're out. I have nothing to play for. I don't want to get hurt. But all those guys got up and they played their butt off in Lambeau, 20-some degrees, and they put it to the Packers. The game may have been close, but they ran that game the whole, from start to finish.
Yeah, and you think about what the Lions looked at the beginning of the year, what the expectation was, and then to have a shot at the playoffs, and it didn't work because Seattle did win earlier in the day, and so they knew going into it that they had no shot to make the playoffs, no matter what the outcome was. And like you said, for them to still go out and fight, I love playing spoiler. And here's especially if, say the Lions were already locked into a playoff spot, and they're like, you can either play the Seahawks or you can bounce the Packers out. You always take the team out. You never let a team in. You never know what happens. I've seen it. You just see it too many times. And the Lions went out and they did a great job. And I do think they have really good talent to build around as they keep getting hopefully better. Just, you know what? Just for the sake of a Lions fan, they deserve to have a deep playoff run one year, right? Just one.
I wish the Seahawks would have lost.
I do too.
I would have much rather see that Dan Campbell team playing in the playoffs than Pete Carroll and Geno Smith playing against the 49ers.
They wrote him off.
Yeah. Playing against the 49ers for the third time this year.
I know. And it's going to, we'll get to those predictions here pretty soon. And I think we already know what that outcome of the game should be. But Aaron Jones had a rough day. A.J. Dillon didn't do much. I think the biggest theme I saw from the Packers this year is they really struggled with any identity on offense. They continually did a good job on defense for the most part when they were healthy and just putting themselves in position to win games. And the offense just, when you saw Aaron Jones, I loved Aaron Jones at the beginning of the year. I was like, this dude is about to just have a great season. He's going to be the number one, I think, target just person. And I thought he was going to have a potential to get close to 20 total touchdowns this year. He's a touchdown guy typically. And I know that 20 sounds like a lot. A couple of years ago, he had 19. He had 19 touchdowns. So he's going to get close. How many touchdowns do you think he had this year?
I'm going to say 4. It may be higher, but I know the Packers struggled, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, he had 2 rushing touchdowns in 17 games, and he did have 5 receiving touchdowns. Okay. So that was without those. I mean, this guy just wasn't the same. So I was just really shocked at how few times. But like you said, when you struggle in the red zone, your running back's probably going to struggle to get touchdowns as well. So I think they still have the chance. I love A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. So I think going forward next year, they had the opportunity to do well. Christian Watson came along towards the end of the year as the primary target. And I don't know, there's pieces there, but I do think, did Aaron Rodgers repeat what Brett Favre did with his last pass and get a uniform?
He did.
You think he's out?
I really do. I think the end of the game was the telltale sign. I mean, I'm sure everyone saw the interaction with Jameson Williams. Williams coming up, hey, can I have your jersey? He said, nah, I need to hold on to this one. And then the moment with him and Randall Cobb walking up the tunnel, him pulling the camera guy back, hey, let us have our moment. And then the press conference afterwards, the guy, hits him with the question, hey, if this is it for you, what are you going to miss most? And you can tell that all the emotions, of everything, he's put into, his life, for this game, everything kind of hit him all at once. And it was just like, he had to take himself, gather himself, and he was like, talk to like each like these individual reporters, like he's known them for
Mm-hmm.
his whole career. He's been in Green Bay, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna miss this about you. I'm gonna miss this about you. And then he took a second, cleared his throat, and he goes, but man, I'm just gonna miss the guys and I'm gonna miss the fans. I think that right there let me know that he's probably done. And then on top of that, for him to say, I have no regrets if I'm retired, on retiring. And I think it's good. I mean, that he seems, at peace with it. And I think that was the biggest problem. He came back this year. He was, he didn't want to go out, not making it to the playoffs, of course. But I think he's, at peace with it. And I think as a Packers fan, I seen something last night that we probably haven't seen since maybe his first year or second year in the NFL. And it was a team went out and their game plan was not to stop Aaron Rodgers. The game plan was to go out, stop the run game, and make Aaron Rodgers beat you. And that's not something you would have done last year or the year before. And I think it's something along the lines that he has taken, I think, a considerable step back. I don't think the accuracy is there. I don't think the arm strength's there. And I think that's what frustrated him most throughout the season. Not being able to make passes that he normally makes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think from the standpoint of the football, I think he probably should retire now instead of next year. And if he really has taken a step back, it's more than likely going to be another step back and him be just a shell of what he was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I really believe that was it. I think he walked off and was like, this is it for me. And so I'm not going to hold the Packers hostage. I'm not going to take a long time to decide this. And I think that's another thing that makes me go, if you're if you're back and forth, oh, am I going to play, am I going to retire, you would take a little bit. To me, it sounds like it's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
quicker thing, especially the saga we've had over the last couple of years, the decisions. I think that's it. And as Packers fan, I hate to see it because one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game of football.
Yeah.
Pure, talent standpoint, one of the greatest players. But I would much rather see him leave under his own terms and still be a top, 15 quarterback in the NFL and not be at the bottom where Brett Favre was at the end of his career.
Yeah. Well, what the thing is, if he plays one more year, then he would get. There's a good chance he would get to 500 touchdowns. He's at 475 right now. He would definitely get over 60,000 yards passing. I think Brady has the record, and it's absolutely huge compared to that. But Brady's been playing longer. But you look at those, like his counting stats are there. I mean, it's insane. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. The one thing, I never thought, after the end of this year, and I know it's a weird thing to say, that I would look at an Aaron Rodgers career stats and see him with over 100 career interceptions.
Yeah.
And he's at 105, and he had 12 this year, which is the most he's had since his first year he started. And I think you're right. His yards per attempt were lowest he's had in a couple of years. His QBR, though, it's not even close. It was by far the lowest he's ever had. He ranked 26th in the league, and I think he's turning 40 after this upcoming season. So you just wonder if he is, and if he goes somewhere. I mean, there are going to be plenty of teams looking for a quarterback that'll probably pay him. It's just, does he have the love for the game, to play in a different uniform? And I just don't know that he does.
Yeah, and I think another thing is a lot of people gave him a lot of credit for at the end of the season, and the late season push, the 4 games. And I'm not saying that he was. I don't think he was even the second, or he may have been more like the third catalyst to that. And it was the defense played better, and they were running the football, averaging about 136 yards a game rushing, only giving up about 17 points a game. And then you look at Rodgers' stats where he's barely averaging 200 yards. He averaged 1 touchdown in each of those games, had 3 interceptions in that span.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't Rodgers that pushed him there. It was, we saw LaFleur kind of go, okay, I really think LaFleur saw that, man, Rodgers there's something off about him. There's something different about him. We need to change the game plan. And he went to the run game. The run game played really good, except for maybe one game against the Miami Dolphins where they only had about 79 yards rushing. But other than that, the run game was the catalyst. The defense was the catalyst. And Rodgers was good enough in those games not to lose them the games. And which is crazy to say because, I mean, we're talking about a guy that's what, 4-time MVP, back-to-back MVP, and for him to be, for you to go, okay, we can slow down the run game. We're probably going to win this game. We can't let the run game beat us. If Rodgers beats us, then it's Rodgers having a moment, which, you wouldn't have thought of that coming into the season.
I know
that he would be, a question when it comes to the offensive side of the football.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about Aaron Rodgers and that decline, and then there's another guy who comes to my mind, and is this the last year? What's funny is I don't think it is somehow, but Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, they win the division. They are the second team in the history that I can remember. Isn't the second team in history to have a losing record?
Yeah, I know. Who was the Rams? Or what they were like?
No, the Seahawks.
Seahawks, yeah,
Marshawn
like
Lynch,
7-9, 6-10, or something like that in the division. Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, and I do think that Tom Brady somehow plays again next year, which would be mind blowing to me. I don't think he has it. I don't think he's that good anymore. But here he is still trying to play. They lose to the Falcons. Desmond Ridder looked good. Tyler Algier looked solid, and Drake London was clearly the number one target. I think it's crazy to think that somehow this Atlanta team won 7 games this year, but you're playing a really bad division. There's a good chance you pick up an extra 2 or 3 wins that way, and they did. But the Bucs, Tom Brady, 13-17, 84 yards. This was a game that Giovanni Bernard played, so take that with a grain of salt. But I don't know, man. I just don't trust this team right now.
I don't either. But it's hard to ever count out a Tom Brady when it comes to the playoffs.
I know.
And I honestly, if this was last year or a couple years ago, this team doesn't make the playoffs. But the division's that bad, and I mean, it gave Tom Brady an opportunity. And I guarantee you, every team in the NFC that's in the playoffs didn't want Tom Brady to have that opportunity. Because they know when it comes time, when it comes to playoffs, that guy's hard to beat. And so I'm never going to count them out just because you never know. I mean, last year they lost to the Rams on basically a Hail Mary, Stafford to Cooper Kupp down the middle of the field, and they kicked a field goal to win the game. That doesn't happen. They may have walked themselves into a Super Bowl. But yeah, I won't count them out, and they got a great draw, I think, right off the bat.
Yeah, we'll get to those predictions in a second, but I think they couldn't have asked for a better draw. You're right. Like the way the seedings work out. So, so you have that. You have what the Bucs are going to look like going forward, but the NFC is number 1 seed is the Eagles. And so if you look at this, Jalen Hurts did come back after missing 2 games. Wasn't sharp, got hit a bunch, sacked 3 times, ran the ball just a little bit. But they did end up beating the Giants, but the Giants weren't even playing to win this game because their seeding was already done. I mean, are you a little nervous about this Eagles team that looked almost unbeatable? Not unbeatable, but I mean, you could almost count on them to get that win every single week and to represent the NFC.
Yeah, I think there has to be some concern because you saw a lot of rust on Jalen Hurts, and a week off is not going to help the rust. And honestly, if I was them, I would have much rather be playing this week than have a week off to keep Jalen Hurts in that, try to get that routine back, playing. It would have been different if, say, he had played the couple weeks before. Yeah, of course you're going to want that week off, but he hasn't played for up until last week, and it was against a lot of backups. Davis Webb was the starting quarterback in that game. We didn't see Saquon Barkley touch the field. We actually seen Kenny Golladay catch a touchdown.
Isn't that crazy?
So they came out and they had no plans of playing hard at all, Giants, and they gave the Eagles a run for their money. So that has to be somewhat disconcerting if you're, Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. I think there has to be some worry because that rust was real, and it's hard to knock it off when you're not playing.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, again, they get the bye week. So if yes, rust is one thing, but also healing from the shoulder injury is going to be a big thing too.
Yeah.
So it's like a give and take. So I think that they'll take the bye. It ensures that you're in the playoffs another week, which is important. So they'll take it. But you look at some of the other games that happened this weekend. We're not going to talk about all of them because not all of them even mattered. But the Dolphins and the Jets. Oi, this game was disgusting. 11-6, no touchdowns. Just a bunch of field goals. Skylar Thompson and Joe Flacco. I mean, we knew this coming into it, right?
Yeah. Ugly. I mean, period. Ugly. It was not an enjoyable game. And now you're the Dolphins. Yeah, you made it to the playoffs. Who's your quarterback? Tua didn't get cleared. Yeah, it's a Tua didn't get cleared today. He's still not available for any activity. And they're talking like, oh, maybe Wednesday he will be. Maybe. If you're going into that with Skylar Thompson as your starting quarterback, even if you're going into it with Teddy Bridgewater as your starting quarterback, you're playing the Bills. You ain't going to win.
Yeah.
You should at least let the Pittsburgh Steelers in. They're healthy.
I know. You say this. They did beat the Bills once at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, but it was at the beginning of the year. That was when they were on their winning streak.
Their point differential between the Bills and the Dolphins this year was 1 point. They've been outscored by 1 point by the Bills. And the game that they won was only by 2. So it's at least been close games. It's not going to be a close. This one should be a blowout. And both of those games Tua did play. So he's not playing in this game. I don't even know if Buffalo has to worry about playing more than 2 quarters in this game. Like, they're obviously going to have to, but like, this should be taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, we don't expect Tua to play. He may shock us and be ready to go. Should he play? Probably not.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
For his life and longevity, probably shouldn't be playing in this upcoming game. But it is an athlete. It's someone that goes out there and their job is to compete, and they're going to want to go out there and compete. So it'll be hard to keep him off the field if he is healthy and he does pass the protocol. But yeah, if he's smart, he doesn't play the game. Yeah, his playoff game, maybe the only playoff game you ever play. Who knows?
Yeah.
But you don't want to take that risk. Your longevity, your health. You got a future. You're 27 years old.
Yeah. No, I kind of think he should probably go ahead and distance himself from the Dolphins at some point. Go to a different area, a different city. There's going to be lots of teams looking for quarterbacks, so they could. And they were never sold on him either. Like, up until this year, they were never like, oh, yeah, we believe. And even then, they're like, I mean, do we believe? So he should. So there's 2 more games I want to talk about before we do some predictions here, if that's all. And make sure I didn't miss anything. But if you look at one of those games was Brock Purdy led San Francisco. Is Brock Purdy better than Jimmy Garoppolo? Because, I mean,
he might be.
13 touchdowns, 4 picks in the games that he played this year. His 8 yards plus per attempt. That's great. I mean, how?
I don't know. I still have reservations. I still haven't seen him play a good defense, and that'll be the telltale sign when it comes to playoffs. And I'm not saying they'll lose week 1, but it's going to be a lot different for him. Yeah, you're playing regular season games. It's playoff time now. Is the light going to be shine too bright for him? And is he going to choke or whatever? I don't think so. I think the 49ers more than likely will get that win, but it's that factor that you're the last pick in the draft. You got everyone's looking at you now.
Yeah.
And can you produce in the playoffs?
Yeah, well, the games that he really had his significant playing time, obviously the Cardinals, the Raiders, those aren't playoff teams. The Commanders, not a playoff team, but the 3 other ones for sure were Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Miami. Those aren't good playoff teams. Those are not good teams.
Some of the worst defenses in the NFL.
Yeah. The one good team that he has thrown passes against multiple was against the Chiefs in a blowout. And in that one, he threw a pick. It was 4 for 9, 66 yards. So a very small sample size, so you can't take a whole lot of that. But that was the one really good team that he played, and he did. It just wasn't the same. So we're going to see what playoff looks like, and they do play week 1. So we'll get to that too. The other game I want to mention was Dallas had a shot to make it a game, to make it a chance to that bye, and they did not deserve that bye week. Any Cowboys fans have got to be embarrassed Dak Prescott, we talked about it last week. His numbers were worse than Derek Carr, other than QBR, and this dude is definitely still the quarterback for America's team. He's still out there every single week, and they're rolling him out there, giving him 37 pass attempts for 128 yards.
Yeah, against a Sam Howell-led Commanders team.
Yeah, why wasn't Sam Howell in the playing earlier in the year? I mean, at least throw him out there. We know it's not Carson Wentz. Why was the decision ever to go to Carson Wentz?
Yeah, that fact that he went back to Carson Wentz was ridiculous. But let's not. Yeah, we can't get over the Dak issue. He's played 12 games this year. How many games did he play this year where he didn't have an interception?
0, I would guess. How many?
2.
1, 2. Great.
2. So he's had an interception in 10, at least one interception in 10 games. And he's had 7 straight games where he's had at least one interception. That's a problem. And it comes playoff time. That is a huge problem. And some of the interceptions like that, those ones against the Commanders, that one on the hitch route, you literally play before that, throw the same exact play, and it should have been picked off and taken to the house. The defender slips.
Yeah.
And what do? Throw the same exact play, and that time, defender doesn't slip, takes it to the house for 6.
What are the chances they're going to run the same play twice? They should have known,
Yeah. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm worried. If I'm a Cowboys fan, I am very worried because I don't think the defense is as good as the numbers show. You've got I think the 4th ranked passing defense and the 26th, 27th ranked rush defense.
Yeah.
That pass defense, a lot of that has to do with the pass rush, and they are great at that. Mm-hmm. But if you're able to neutralize some things running the football, that team is very beatable, especially opposite of Trevon Diggs. The other corner isn't that great. And I know their other starting quarterback was hurt. I'm not 100% sure if he's back or not, but there has to be a lot of anxious nerves if you're a Cowboys fan, and then to draw Tom Brady in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you're up for it, we can go ahead and do some predictions on the NFL real quick for this upcoming weekend. Wild card weekend. Just when you talk about that, let's start with that one. Tom Brady versus Dak Prescott. This is in Tampa Bay, which is crazy. This was a team, Dallas, that technically had a chance to get the number 1 and a bye. And now they're on the road in Tampa Bay playing against the GOAT, Tom Brady, on Monday night, which is a weird thing on its own. Weird. So, I mean, you look at this. Who you picking in this game?
I have Tampa Bay. I don't trust Dak Prescott, and especially the playoffs. I mean, we've seen it last year. Just the organized play of Dak Prescott in the playoffs, and we haven't seen him really perform well in the limelight when it comes to playoff time. And said, I'm never going to write off a Tom Brady team, and I think they find a way to at least win one game. And I think they got the team they wanted. Essentially, they got the Cowboys, and the Cowboys have not played good over the last 4 weeks. Have not played good at all.
There's another time to go into the playoffs and not be playing well. You're just
and you haven't played well against bad teams. I mean, you barely beat the Texans. You blew a 17-point lead to the Jaguars, who are in the playoffs. You just got blown out and destroyed, manhandled by the Commanders when you had number 1 seed possibility on the line, and you just come out play terrible. I would not feel confident taking that team, so I'm going Tampa. I don't care what the records are. I'll take Tom Brady, and I would feel confident about it.
I'm going to do the same thing, and I don't feel confident. I think the Cowboys are favored by 3 in Tampa Bay, which is a lot of that's just because Vegas knows that Cowboy fans are out there, and they're going to be like, yep, absolutely, they're going to cover. And then here we go with Tom Brady. I think if it comes down to one possession, you got to give it to Tom Brady, even though this is not the best Tom Brady we've seen. It's one of the worst Tom Brady's we've ever seen. But, I mean, I just don't trust the defense for Dallas. I don't trust it against Tom Brady and Godwin and Mike Evans. We just saw 2 weeks ago had a monster game, and Godwin's been probably the best receiver on that team this year. I just don't trust it. And then, like you said, this is when you're struggling, you just barely make the playoffs. I don't know. I mean, I can't. So I'm going to unfortunately have to pick Tampa Bay with Tom Brady at the home. You know, they're going to get the one win, and Tom Brady's going to think that's, oh, see, I still have it left. I'm going to go ahead and come back one more year.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to work our way now. Since we started with that one, we're going to actually start with our Saturday games now. We got Monday out of the way. We're going to go to Saturday games. We got Brock Purdy versus Geno Smith. I know that's exactly what everybody pictured when they thought of this game. Brock Purdy and the 49ers at home against the Seattle Seahawks. Who you got?
I got the 49ers. I mean, Seahawks backed their way into the playoffs. They had to have the Packers lose last night. Geno hasn't played the best over the last few weeks. Had a decent game yesterday. Kenneth Walker looked better yesterday than he had like the previous 3 or 4 weeks. He was dealing with the injury, so that could be a boost for them. But that defense for the 49ers, I think, is going to be too much. Brock Purdy, he knows how to play within himself. We'll see. I mean, if the only thing is for him is, are the lights going to be too bright? Is he going to fumble? We've seen him in college. When the big games come, Brock Purdy folds. Can that be different? He has a lot more help with this team. You got CMC, you got Deebo Samuel, you got George Kittle, you got one of the better offensive lines, you got a really good defense. Can he lean on that and not try to play hero ball and just do what he's done as a starter and just play good and stay within himself? He can do that. I don't think there's any chance for the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's the thing is I want, like, they are just such a better team overall, top to bottom. But Brock Purdy is the QB. But the good news is I don't think this is going to be on Brock Purdy to win this game for the 49ers. And their defense is so stinking good that I gotta pick them. I don't know if they're gonna. I think they're favored by. I didn't see what they were favored. No,
10.5 or something like that.
Yeah, which is a lot to me, especially with the Brock Purdy team. So I don't know if there is going to be a 2-possession game, but I do expect them to win because that defense is just so good. And CMC's there. I mean, they got a lot of talent, and Brock Purdy has played well against some bad teams and even bad playoff teams. But this is a bad playoff team, and we've seen him play against them, and he did well. So we'll see him do just enough to get it done. And you should not be going to this game if you're a 49er team saying Brock Purdy is going to take us to victory. Like, I hope it's something else. I hope it's the defense or it's CMC or whatever.
Yep. Yeah. If it comes down to Brock Purdy having to be that guy to win the football game, if you're the 49ers, you're worried because that's not how you guys have won with him as a starting quarterback. It hasn't been like, oh, well, this game's going to be on Purdy to win. Yeah. No, it's been, we'll lean on our defense. We'll lean on Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. Well, we got to start picking opposite teams here. Otherwise, we're going to have the same record come into week 1, but that's fine. Who cares? So the next one is the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Jaguars, who won the division. They will get the home game, and it's a Saturday night game, which is always a little weird, but Trevor Lawrence is used to playing on Saturdays and succeeding, and he did it last week, so he can do it again.
Yeah, he knows the Saturdays.
Yeah, I will say these two teams have combined to go 9-1 in their last 10 games. So both teams are coming in doing a really good job. The Chargers didn't really need to win the last game. They did play all their starters. I don't know if you noticed that. All the starters. Yeah. And then they still lost. Now they kind of gave up in the last little bit, but they still lost to the Broncos.
Yeah. No, that whole situation, he's lucky that, I mean, not really. I mean, you possibly lost Mike Williams for the playoffs.
Yep.
As a back injury, a guy that's dealt with injuries his whole career. And yet you're going to play him. He's lucky nothing happened to Eckler or, Herbert. But I think this is one I kind of went back and forth on because, like, man, I could see this happening. I could see that happening. I'm going to go with Justin Herbert and the Chargers. I'm going to go with the defense. Besides this game against the Broncos, their defense has played a lot better. You gotten healthy. Joey Bosa's healthy. You got Khalil Mack healthy. The secondary is a little more healthy. You got Kenneth Murray, back. I think that the defense will be the deciding factor, and I think we'll maybe see Herbert maybe finally take that step and be, a quarterback that I know I expected a lot more from Herbert this year. So maybe he can. Yeah. The playoffs will be something for him to, stepping stone next year to go, okay, I finally proven myself, got to the playoffs, won a game or so, and, move forward that way.
And he's going to need to start winning some playoff games. I hope he doesn't, as a Chiefs fan. But
Yeah.
as a Charger, he needs to. I will say, of those 9-1 record, but combined for the two of them, they've each played one playoff team. And one of them was the Dolphins, and the other was the Cowboys. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one, which I'm surprised by. Because going into, I think the discussion was, is Herbert a top 3, top 5 QB? And we were all on the same page. And right now it feels more like Phillip Rivers than, a Peyton Manning kind of situation, which isn't bad. Phillip Rivers was really good. But I just worry that this Chargers defense that you're talking about, some of the team, they struggled against the Broncos. But the Rams was one of the teams, not the good Baker Mayfield Rams, but the bad Baker Mayfield Rams. The Colts, good Lord, Jeff Saturday. Oh my gosh, that version of the Colts. And then the Titans, who are so one-dimensional, and the Dolphins. So that one I do believe had 2 in it. But if you look at this, I do think that because the Jaguars, they're on the right roll right now to get in, to make it in. And they're actually not favored. The Chargers are in this one. So I'm leaning them a lot. I think when it comes to just this spotlight, we've seen Trevor Lawrence succeed. And I like Etienne a lot. He doesn't find the end zone nearly as much as Eckler does, but I really like it. I can't believe I'm picking the Jaguars. I really can't.
You see, one of the issues I had with the Jaguars is how healthy is Etienne?
Yeah,
you see him leave the game yesterday and didn't come back, and so there is some injuries there. Is he going to be healthy enough, and how much can he contribute? And the Jaguars are going to need Trevor Lawrence prior to the last 2 games. They're going to need the Trevor Lawrence in the Cowboys game.
Yeah.
If he has the moments that he had in the last 2 games, it's going to be tough. And so that was my leaning. I went with Justin Herbert. Yep. I mean, both of them really have no playoff experience, so we can't go based off of that. But I'm going to go – I went more with the defensive side of things.
Yeah, no, I can't fault you for that. So the next game is the Dolphins versus Buffalo. Buffalo.
I mean, do we really even need to? I
think the question is, does Buffalo cover the spread of 10.5 points? Yeah, they do.
Yeah, especially if we have Skylar Thompson playing. Absolutely.
Yeah, this should be a pretty simple, smooth walk into the next round of the playoffs. So I don't know. I just don't think you need to spend a lot of time on it. It's crazy. I can't.
It'll be a good tune-up game.
Yeah.
Good tune-up.
I wish it was Pittsburgh. I just do. I think that'd be better.
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh would have gotten blown out as well.
Yeah.
But it would have been a healthier team. At least there would have been a quarterback. So, and then Kenny Pickett could have proved, hey, I can play in winter. Okay, don't worry about my tiny hands. I can still play. I can't think we're going to prove it. Would have been great. The next one's pretty interesting. You have the Minnesota Vikings, who are one of those teams that you look at the record 13-4, and you're like, really? And you look at the Giants at 9-7-1, and you're like, that's what I expect. But in this game, the Vikings are favored by 3, and they're the home team. So it's almost an even. Hey, who's home field? That's who we're picking. The Vikings have been very, very inconsistent. And we just saw them win the game. So does that mean on this other turnaround the next week that they're out?
I picked the Giants. I picked Brian Dable. That's who I picked. I picked Brian Dable. I think Dable, the energy he brings, I think he kind of has that Dan Campbell feel to it, where he's building a culture, and the excitement, the energy that he brings on that sideline, I think is going to play a big factor. And the Vikings aren't good against the run. Saquon Barkley, we're going to see a heavy dose of Saquon Barkley, but we'll also see, I think, a lot of Daniel Jones. And I've said it, I don't know, I think basically since like week 2, week 3, the Vikings are the luckiest team in the NFL. And I think the luck has kind of run out a little bit the last few weeks.
Yeah, it could be. Daniel Jones is a secret like that most people aren't aware of. He's out here 7 touchdowns rushing, over 700 yards rushing this year. I should have thrown that in the game of like, guess which quarterback had 700 yards rushing. You probably would have got Daniel Jones, but I'm like, man, just imagine the beginning of the year you drafted Daniel Jones as your QB1 and be like, you guys just wait.
Hey, Dable knows what he's doing when it comes to quarterbacks.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the best hires this offseason was the Giants. And you look at it and it's clearly paid off because this is a team that was like yeah, Daniel Jones doesn't have what it takes. So I'm very, very torn on this because I don't like Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota is that good. But it's just so tough. I'm going to go Minnesota as a home team. I think it's a toss-up. I just don't know. I'm going to go Minnesota, but it's a toss-up.
I mean, yeah, I was back and forth on this one. It is home. It is Minnesota. But the big thing came down to it was Kirk Cousins.
I know. And but I just don't know that I trust Daniel Jones more than I trust.
It's not the fact that I trust Daniel Jones more. It's the fact that we've seen Kirk Cousins playoff primetime games. This, not primetime game, but it is nationally televised. It's going to be, the game everyone's watching, the way they set this up. He doesn't perform. And they did beat the Giants a few weeks ago, or 4 or 5 weeks ago, 5-3 at home. Can you do that again? I don't know. I just feel like I'm not going players. I'm really not. I'm going coaching. I'm going with Brian Dable to bring that energy on the sideline.
Yeah. I mean, I can't fault you for it. It's toss-up, so it's so close to me. So I'm just struggling with it. But I'm not excited. Honestly, I'm not excited about most of these games this weekend. I don't think it's going to be a whole lot of exciting football, which is kind of sad because it's playoff football. But I think it will lead to some really, really good divisional round games if the right teams win. Like it's Sundays, it's football, so any of these teams are that good. But if you look at the last game, it's Baltimore Ravens versus the Cincinnati Bengals. We don't know about Lamar Jackson, and honestly, even if we do, imagine the rest, and then we know what Lamar looks like in the playoffs. So for me, it's the Bengals, and I think they should really be able to win this one, no problem. I mean, the weather shouldn't even be an issue.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it's probably not going to be a close game. Like I said, the rest on Lamar is going to be a lot. He's probably going to play. They said he, should play. He's, probable. So I think we will see Lamar Jackson, but I don't think we're going to see a good Lamar Jackson. And Bengals right now are one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in football, and they're going to be hard to stop.
I know. I don't like it because I'm a little nervous about the team now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you already have to be nervous about the Bills if you're in the AFC, and now you're like, and at one point this year, I think the Bengals were like 4-4, and we're like, yep, see, and now 12. Yep. So whatever you're going to do with that. So I had to look at the seeding real quick to remember because this is it's lowest seed plays. It's not in the NFL. It's not like it's already set in stone, kind of like
it's not a bracket thing,
stuff like that. So let me pull this up real quick here. So for me as a Chiefs fan, I want, what is it? It's the Dolphins and Bills, and then the lowest seed would play them. So, or the highest seed.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 games next week, right? Within it, because
yes.
There's why is it so hard?
Next week there's 2.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
There's 3 this week. Yeah.
Well, I definitely want the Bills and the Bengals to play, and there's no winning here if you're a Chiefs fan, because then if either of these 2 teams play, if we got to play the Bills, that's a neutral site. We got to play the Bengals. We've 0-3. So
yeah,
it's going to be a tough road.
At least the thing is, though, at least you don't have to beat both of them. At least you only have to beat one of those teams.
I know if they don't get the bye, then they're probably going to play both.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If they don't get the bye, they would have played the Bengals and the Bills.
Yeah.
So at least this way, you get the bye. You only have to play one of those teams, so that helps. And maybe for you, it's probably best if the Bengals lose that game. But
yes, but honestly, the best case scenario is somehow Jacksonville wins. Well, no, I guess we would probably play Jacksonville is the way it looks right now. But you get, good Lord, fine. Let's let Baltimore win. Lamar Jackson comes back, Baltimore wins, then Baltimore beats Buffalo, and then we play Baltimore and we destroy them. That's the path.
That's the path. I don't know. I don't know how likely that path is, but it is a path.
Yeah, it is a path. All right. So that's the prediction for this upcoming weekend. We're going to keep tabs on it. Last year we did as well. It was very, very close as we played through. Do you remember who won last year?
I don't.
I think it was me, but honestly, I should have kept the notes. I didn't. So I'll keep that on the side this time for next year. But any of the biggest head coaches that you were surprised by that got fired today?
Nope.
Not even Cliff Kingsbury. With all that money, you're like, nope.
Nope. We've been calling for Kingsbury to be fired since like week 2, week 3.
We've been calling for him to get fired since he got hired.
Yeah, that's true.
We're like, this is dumb.
There's one that I think that could possibly happen. May not happen, but could possibly happen. And it's Kevin Stefanski.
Oh.
The Browns head coach. Will it happen? Probably not.
Yeah.
But the fact is that you went out and you got rid of Baker Mayfield after all that. You go out and get Deshaun Watson, get Jacoby Brissett, and they have basically the identical numbers that Baker Mayfield put up last year with the torn labrum.
Yeah, I love that.
So there could be some, would I be surprised? No. Do I think it's going to happen? No. But it could. I mean, you have to be somewhat on a hot seat. You're a team that, granted, if Deshaun Watson plays, maybe you win more games. I don't think so. With the way Deshaun Watson's played since he came back, I don't think so.
I haven't been sold on. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah.
All right. Well, we'll keep going about it, especially as they get hired. I remember last year that was a pretty fun ride as all the new head coaches got hired. So, looking at this game that I want to play. So it's what did I name it here? I put it in the show notes. I said, "Are you surprised it's him game?" Okay, that's what it's called. So we're gonna go through, and I'm gonna give you like a short list, and you have to tell me the one that's missing. Okay, so don't use any resources. This is just off your top of your head. So it's who's missing, and are you surprised it's him that's missing? You get it?
Okay.
Do you like it? Does it make sense? So like it'll be like
Maybe.
example, a top 5, and then I'm gonna name these people who are on the list, and then you had to be like, oh yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
So are you ready? Are you in the right mental space?
Let's do it. Let's give it.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna start with quarterbacks. Okay. This is total QBR, how good they are. Now, I'm going to give you a list of 5 names, and I want you to tell me which one's missing, and then after that, we have a subcategory for this. So, it's based on total. You have to qualify. So, for example, Deshaun Watson will not qualify. He didn't have enough games. But here's the list. Jalen Hurts. This is in order, and you tell me who's missing. Jalen Hurts, blank. Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, Jacoby Brissett. Oh, and Lamar Jackson. That's 5. And I can give it again.
So Jalen Hurts. So number 2 is missing.
The second person in this list. After the list, you have to know where they are in the list of 1 to 32 or whatever. 1 to 31.
And is this the top 5, or is this just random people?
Question. So don't worry about that. This is in order of where they are qualified. So Jalen Hurts, then blank. Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, Jacoby Brissett, Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
I know. This is a good question. Oh, we have talked about this guy earlier in the show.
I'm guessing. I'm going to say Tua.
Tua? It is not Tua.
Not Tua?
Tua was right above Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
So, not a bad guess. Because, that's Jalen Hurts was literally right in the middle of them.
I guess I'm not quite understanding. Is it just random? It's not like...
It's not random. This is in order. It's not starting with number 1.
Oh, okay. It's somewhere in a list.
Yeah, and so that's the second part of the question is, where do you think this group is? This group of 5.
Okay. So we got Jacoby Brissett down in there. And Lamar Jackson. I'm going to say Kirk Cousins.
Okay, it is not Kirk Cousins. I'm surprised. Do you want one more guess, or are you good? I'll go to the next one.
We'll go one more guess. I've got one more idea.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers.
It is not. Aaron, I will let you know this secret. Okay.
I know Rodgers isn't great, so I wasn't sure.
So it was Jared Goff.
Okay.
So the list again, if you're listening at home, it was Jalen Hurts, then Jared Goff was the blank, then Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, Jacoby Brissett, and then Lamar Jackson. That was a set of 5. So in 1 to 31 or 1 to 30, where's this set of 5? Just ballpark it.
Ballpark it.
Yeah. Not total QBR, but just,
Yeah. Where they rank in the QBR. Mm-hmm. I know. So you said, I know Tua is ahead of Jalen Hurts. So that kind of gives me somewhat of an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Tua's QBR has dropped over the last few weeks. I know for a while he was the number 1 quarterback up there for a bit. So I'm going to say this is around the 7 to 11 range.
I like your guess. That's pretty close. It's actually 4 to 9.
4. Okay.
Yeah, so Hurts was number 4, then Jared Goff at number 5. But did those names were in the top 10? All of those names in the top 10. So Are you surprised that Jared Goff was there? Are you surprised it's him?
Honestly, not really. Not with this. I mean, if you would have asked me this at the beginning of the year, absolutely, there's no way I think he's anywhere.
No.
But with the way,
no.
Yeah, no, with the way he's played, especially the last 6-7 weeks. I mean, haven't turned the ball over. You have 16, 17 touchdowns. That doesn't surprise me a whole lot. I think the one that surprised me the most is Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, I know. Same here. Jacoby Brissett. He did get 16 total games played, which is crazy. But 12 touchdowns, 6 picks. He just did. He just did enough. I will say that right after Lamar, it's Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott. Boom, boom, boom.
That doesn't surprise me too much either, because you look at Herbert had a lot of turnovers. Burrow had a lot of turnovers, especially at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott has a lot of turnovers. So that doesn't surprise me a whole lot.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm surprised that Lamar, he has played enough. He's only missed 4 or 5 games. So I guess, he has technically played enough games.
Aaron Rodgers. So this part of the list is great. You have Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. You'd be like, man, that's a pretty good list if it was 6 years ago.
Yeah, and that has to be, bottom half.
Yeah, it's 26, 7,
20. Yeah, and so I know. Yeah, Rodgers.
Yeah. All right. So are you ready for the next one?
Let's hear it.
All right. So we're gonna go to running backs.
Running
backs. All right. So here is the list, and we are gonna go. Let's scroll down here a little bit. So we're gonna go in order of the list. Do you want the category of what it is?
Yeah. What's the category?
Okay. So we'll do. Oh man, I can't actually do that one. I was gonna do yards per game. And you get Justin Fields is up there, and you're like, well,
yeah. Okay.
All right. So let me switch it up real quick. I don't like that one either because it doesn't let me qualify. So I'm just going to do total yards. All right.
Okay.
It's unfortunate because I wanted to do a better one than that, but it's fine. So we have the list goes here: Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, Aaron Jones, blank, Kenneth Walker, and Ramondre Stevenson. I think that's actually 6, so my apologies. But so who is the blank? That's the first thing.
So it was McCaffrey, Etienne, Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker. Is that who you said?
Blank, then Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker.
And Ramondre Stevenson was an extra one.
And this is just rushing yards, or is it total
just rushing yards? Yeah, okay. I did. Correct. It's just rushing.
Okay. So my one guess, I know it's not going to be right, so I'm not going to guess that. I was going to say Tyler Algier.
No, but that's a great guess. He's below.
Yeah, he was right below Kenneth Walker, I know, for rookie rushing yards.
That was a really good guess.
Let's see. Trying to think of someone. James Conner.
No. Where's James Conner? Oh, here. Lost James Conner. He's not in this section of the list. So I can go ahead and tell you, and then you can guess the section. Because I have one more running back one.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
NFC North.
NFC North. Is it David Montgomery?
Nope.
So it has to be Dallas. Are you trying to trick me here?
No.
Yeah.
Trick. No.
Must be Jamal Williams.
It is Jamal Williams. Yes. Nailed it. with 17 touchdowns. That's another one of those that there's no way any of us would have picked. The former Pack.
Yeah, no. See, I mean, technically, I still stand by my should have let Aaron Jones walk and keep Jamal Williams. But, I mean, Aaron Jones is a great player, but you paid him $14 million.
Yeah. So, I know. That's a lot of money for running back. But, so that part of the list that started, where was it? Jamal was Aaron. Where was
Christian
it? CMC
McCaffrey
was the first one. Was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So,
wow.
I know. You go over the list of everybody else, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. So here's some other names real quick. And all you have to do is guess the range. You're not guessing a player. I'm not going to leave one out. But you have, let me pull it up. Alvin Kamara, Mostert, Ezekiel Elliott, Jonathan Taylor, Jeffrey Wilson Jr. What's the range of 5?
Man, there's a lot of running backs.
And it's a lot of big names.
Yeah.
So it's just 5 running backs total.
I'm going to say let's go, because I had Jonathan Taylor on my team, so I know he didn't rush for a lot of yards. I know Kamara didn't rush for a whole lot. I'm going to go with, I'm going to say 24 to 28, 29 range.
That's close, 20 to 24. 25.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 to 24. That's the range. So insane to see those names. And that's why in fantasy football, it's so tough to predict because you're like, good Lord, this is so tough. But so.
I mean, a lot of those names, you have high draft picks in fantasy football.
Mm-hmm. I know. So here's another thing I look at a lot with fantasy football, and this is targets. Are you ready for this one? Targets?
Ooh.
I know. It's going to be good. So here we go. This is I'll give you the blank, and then I'm going to give you in this one too. So it starts with Deontay Johnson, blank, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Chris Godwin, and Michael Pittman.
Okay. So Deontay Johnson, blank, then Amon-Ra.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just targets.
Yeah, this is just based on targets, which this is great because as you're thinking about this, the top 2 on this list, they're tied for targets. And what's great is both of them did not have that many receptions. They did have quite a few receptions in comparison, but just their catch rate is so low. And a lot of that you look at who was throwing to him for a while, but I don't want to give away too many hints. But I can.
So you have T. Higgins.
It is not T. Higgins. No. Guys, we finally found the game that we can get Devin on. We just changed it up last second. Don't give him any heads up. And he's unprepared. I'm just saying.
Targets is a tough one because you can have some guys get, a whole lot of targets and, like you said, just not be able to catch the ball because you got a quarterback throwing the football to you that can't throw the football. Drake London.
No, I do like that. That's a good one. He's not quite on there because he didn't have. I mean, they just didn't throw the ball a whole lot. So it was Garrett Wilson.
Oh wow! I mean, that does make sense.
Yeah. So he's tied with Deontay Johnson with 147 targets on the year. Yeah, they both had in the low to mid. They had the mid 80s catches each. It's insane.
Yeah. Quarterback.
It's crazy. So, all right. So, what was the range, though? Deontay Johnson, Garrett Wilson, St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Godwin, and Michael Pittman. 1 to 30.
1 to 30. That's tough. Targets is a tough category. We'll say 8 to 13.
Ooh, yeah. So it's 7 to 12. 8 to 13. That was a really good guess. How many touchdowns did Deontay Johnson have this year?
0.
Bingo! 147 targets, and not one of them did he find the end zone.
Yeah, and say unless he got one last week and I didn't, the last game, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those it's almost like the whole Kenny Galladay thing. Kenny Galladay, 2 years, so he is making roughly $36 million for every touchdown he catches.
That's insane. That is insane because he.
Yeah. You know how many catches he had coming into the season?
Oh,
or coming into this game?
0.
4.
4? I didn't even know he played this year. So this is news to me. I thought he had 6 for a touchdown this week.
Nope. 4. He has 1 touchdown his whole Giants career, and it was this week. Because I always made the joke, hey, I have as many touchdowns as Kenny Galladay does.
Yep, it's pretty good.
But yeah, I mean, so targets is a tough one because you can have, like you said, guys that just get fed get the ball thrown to them a lot and maybe have 60 catches.
Yeah,
because
I'm just
they
excited
don't
we
have
jumped on the game, man. I'm just
me.
really excited about this. It never happened. Yeah, well, man, I got nothing else. That was the last thing I had was the game. Did we miss anything else? That's it.
I don't think so. I mean,
all right.
I think we're there. Everyone's well prepared. Oh, we do have one thing.
Okay.
And it's something. I mean, we haven't really got to discuss exactly the details of this, but you guys are going to want to turn on your notifications for the YouTube page because we will be doing a giveaway very soon.
Oh man, I love a good giveaway.
So make sure you have the notification bell turned on. That way you get the the update on when it's going to actually happen.
Yeah.
And the stipulations of how it is. I mean, it's free.
It's a free giveaway.
Simple as that. Yeah, you don't have to pay for nothing.
Nothing. Not even shipping and handling. We'll handle it and we'll ship it.
Yeah, I mean, all it's basically going to be is you subscribing, and that's it.
Wow, what a free way to get something free.
And give a little hint. It's a free autographed jersey.
Whoa. Okay, we're giving a lot of details.
Just saying.
Dan, we appreciate the support, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Dan. Dan is one of my favorite people, like in the card hobby and just in general. The guy is such a good guy. Always, texting me, checking up on me. Such a good guy. Glad you were able to come into the stream this week and just kind of chat it up with us and watch us.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. And Devin, just out of curiosity, go ahead and give that card breaking website. Is it a website? What is it?
It's an app. So it's called the Whatnot app. And if you're big into cards, go download the app. I mean, you go on these streams and they give stuff away. But if you want to buy into breaks and stuff, it's a great place to do it. You get the value. You don't have to pay the $1,000 for the one hobby box. You go and buy one team, and you get all those cards for that team. So if you're going to do it, though, there's one group of people that you need to go to. It's backyard breaks. More specifically, backyard hits. Matt, Kamo, Jordy, Savvy, best people in the hobby, and they always pull fire cards. I mean, just insane cards. So yeah, if you're going to do it, go download it, go find Backyards Hits, and just say, hey, I'm here because of the W podcast.
There you go. What a nice plug. We appreciate all the support from anyone listening. Whether you're watching the video, you're watching a little bit after the fact, that's okay. We appreciate you. Join us next week, 6:30, Monday night. We want to jump in. We'll talk all the NFL. We'll break it down. Week 1 of the playoffs, and there'll be a game on that night, so it's going to be a good podcast. But till then, we hope that you enjoy the sports conversation this week. Talk about it with someone else, and bring the podcast with you. Share it with someone new.
Yeah. And let's try to get over that 58 viewer mark. So share it with everyone. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So other than that, we'll see you next week.
All right. See ya.